Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for Game 4 of the ALCS between the Kansas City Royals and the Toronto Blue Jays. And heading into this game, the home team had won every game thus far, as the Royals had won the first two in Kansas City, and Toronto won Game 3 at home in Toronto, and here we were in Game 4 for the second game in Toronto. And on the mound for the Blue Jays, R.A. Dickey. On the mound for Kansas City, Chris Young. So starting off in the top of the first, Escobar would reach on a bunt. And so then Zobrist came to the plate, and Ben Zobrist went deep. He took the knuckleball over the right field wall, 416 feet, and it was 2-0 Kansas City. Lorenzo Cain would then walk and steal second. Hosmer hit a single. Now he had runners on the corners, still no outs. And then Cain ended up scoring on a passed ball. And so then Hosmer would take second. And Martin would end up on first. Then Morales would ground out. And then Moustakas would hit a sac fly. And it was now 4-0. So Cain scored his 3-0. Moustakas with a sac fly to bring in Hosmer as he tagged up and scored. And it was 4-0. Perez would strike out, and that would bring the top of the first to a close, but not after the Royals had scored 4 runs. So on the bottom of the first, Chris Young on the mound for the Royals, and he's tall. He's about 6'10". He looks almost like a thick Randy Johnson out there. He would strike out Ben Revere. He walked Donaldson, then struck out Batista. Donaldson stole second, and Young struck out Encarnacion. So 3 strikeouts in the first inning for Young, and that would bring the first inning to a close. So now on the top of the second, Dickey would get Gordon to ground out. Then Alex Rios took Dickey deep as he went 415 feet to center, and it was now 5-0 Kansas City over Toronto. Escobar was then hit by a pitch. Zobrist would ground out. Cain would walk for the second time. And now Hendricks would come in to relieve Dickey, as Dickey was not getting it done here in this game. Last time out he had it working, but this time he just got blown up by the Royals. So Escobar would end up getting picked out at second, and that would bring the top half of the second to a close. So now at the bottom of the second, Young would set down the side in order as he got Colabello to ground out, Tulowitzki flew out, and Martin would fly out as well. So that brought the second to a close. Down the top of the third, Liam Hendricks would set down the side in order as Hosmer grounded out, Morales grounded out, and Moustakas fouled out. So on the bottom of the third, Pilar would pop out, and then Goins hit a single. So now Revere would walk, so you had 2 on, 1 out for Donaldson. Donaldson hit a ground rule double over the left field wall, and Goins would score. Revere was held up at third because of the ground rule double, and it was now 5-1 as the Blue Jays got on the scoreboard here in the bottom of the third. Batista would then ground out, but that would allow Revere to score, so it was now 5-2. Encarnacion lined out, and that would do it for the third, but not after the Blue Jays had put 2 runs on the scoreboard and cut the Royals' lead to 3 with a score 5-2. So down the top of the fourth, Hendricks would get Perez to line out, Gordon flied out, and then Rios reached on a single, but he was caught stealing it, and so that did it for the top of the fourth. So now on the bottom of the fourth, Young would set down the side in order as Colabello lined out, Tulowitzki grounded out, and Martin grounded out. So on the top of the fifth, Hendricks would set down the side in order as he got Escobar to ground out, Zobrist grounded out, and Cain struck out. So on the bottom of the fifth, Pilar struck out, Goins flied out, Revere hit a single, and that would do it for Young, as Hochevar would come in to relieve Young, who had been pitching a pretty good game but wouldn't make it through 5. So Donaldson would end up fouling out to Hochevar. As he fouled out the first, Hochevar got him to foul out, and so that would do it for the 5th. So now at the top of the 6th, Hendricks would set down the side in order as he struck out Hosmer. Morales flew out, and Moustakas flew out. So then, bottom of the 6th, Hochevar would let up a leadoff single to Batista, but Encarnacion grounded into a double play, and then Colabello grounded out, so that did it for the 6th. So now at the top of the 7th, LaTroy Hawkins on the mound for the Blue Jays in relief of Hendricks. He would walk Perez, and then Gordon got a single, so he had 2 on, no out. Rios got a single, and the bases were juiced, and that would do it for Hawkins. Is another bad performance out of the bullpen by Hawkins in the postseason. Is you wonder why they even put him in the game. But so Tepera would come in to relieve him, and so Orlando would pinch run for Rios. Escobar then almost hit a grand slam as he hit a sac fly to center, taking it back to the warning track. But Perez, who's the catcher, that's how deep he hit it, that Perez was able to tag up and score, and it was now 6-2 as the Royals extended their lead to 4. Gordon and Orlando both tagged up as well, so you had 2 runners in scoring position now with 1 out for Alex Gordon. And so then a wild pitch would allow, actually it was Zobrist at the plate, but the wild pitch allowed Gordon to score, and Orlando moved to third. Zobrist would then walk, so you had now runners on the corners. It was 7-2 with Gordon scoring off of that wild pitch. Kane then hit a single. That drove in Orlando and brought Zobrist over to third. So now it was 8-2. Runners on the corners for Hosmer. Hosmer hit a sac fly. Zobrist tagged up, and it was now 9-2. So 7-run lead now for the Royals in the top of the 7th as they had put 4 runs on the board. Morales would fly out, and that would do it for the Royals in the top of the 7th. So now the bottom of the 7th, Matson in to pitch in relief of Hochevar for the Royals, and he would let up a leadoff single to Tulowitzki. Then he struck out Russell Martin. Pilar would ground into a fielder's choice, so Tulo was out at second as the lead runner, and then Goins struck out, and that would do it for the 7th inning. So now the top of the 8th, Moustakas would ground out. Perez then hit a double. Gordon then walked, so he had 2 on, 1 out for Orlando. He hit a single, and now the bases were juiced for Escobar. And Escobar would go deep once again and drive in Perez, who was able to tag up for the second time off a sac fly by Escobar in the consecutive innings. And so now it was 10-2 as the Royals extended their lead to 8. So now Zobrist would reach on an infield single, and the bases were juiced once again. Now for Lorenzo Cain at the plate. Cain hits a single. That drives in Gordon in Orlando, and it was now 12-2 as the Royals were up by 10. Lowe would come in relief, and he would strike out Hosmer, and that would do it for the top of the 8th, but not after the Royals had added 3 more runs to their score. So now on the bottom of the 8th, Herrera into pitch in relief of Matson for Kansas City. He would let up a leadoff single to Revere, but then get Donaldson to pop out and strike out Batista. Revere would then go to second on a fielder's indifference, and Encarnacion flew out, and that would do it for the 8th. So now the top of the 9th, Lowe would be still on the mound. He ended up he let up a leadoff single to Morales, and then struck out Moustakas, and then Batera grounded out. And so now Gordon was hit by a pitch, and Chad Pennington would come in to relieve Lowe. And Pennington is actually the first time in a championship series, in a league championship series, that a position player would come in to pitch in relief. So he's not a pitcher, but that's where they were at this point, is the Blue Jays were just getting hammered, and now they were bringing in their infielders to pitch. But Pennington on the mound, and he actually wasn't that bad, but he let up a single to Orlando that would move Morales to third, Gordon to second, as the bases were now juiced for Escobar. And Escobar gets another RBI with the bases juiced. The other twice he did sac flies, but here he gets a single, and he drives in Morales and Gordon, and it was now 14-2 as the Royals extended their lead to 12. Zobrist would foul out, and that would do it for the top of the 9th. So now the bottom of the 9th, Franklin Morales in to pitch for Herrera to close this thing out. Obviously not a save situation. Colabello would ground out. Then Pompey would pitch hit for Tulowitzki. He hit a single. Carrera then pinch hit for Martin, and he grounded out. And then Pilar struck out, and that would do it for this game. 14-2. The Royals go up 3-1 with the win in Game 4, the first road team to win in this series as they buck the home team trend. And the Royals are in a pretty good position. They beat the Jays pretty bad here, and you see when the Blue Jays don't get their bats going, they can't keep up with the Royals, who can keep up with the runs that we saw in the last game. Well, the Royals, they ended that game with 4 runs in the ninth, and they ended up losing by 3 in Game 3. But then they kept those bats going as they ripped 4 runs in the first, and then they just another in the 7, 8, 9. They scored 9 runs, 4 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, and 9 and 2 in the ninth. So 9 runs in the final 3 innings of this game. So they started off with 4 in the first, added another 1 in the second, and the Royals just kept hitting. Not so much the home runs, although they did have the 2 home runs. Zobrist with the home run in the first inning to make it 2-0, and then Rios with the home run in the second inning. But then after that, there's just lots of hits. They just kept on hitting them, and they kept going through the pitchers there on the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, Dickey just couldn't get it done. And last time he was out there, he was, getting a lot of good movement out of his knuckleball. They took him out the game and brought in David Price to get the win. And that's the things that kind of messes with the guy's mojo. They take him out when he's doing good, and then his next time out, look how bad he was doing, letting up 5 runs in less than 2 innings as he ended up getting pulled, and he gets the loss. Young was looking pretty good for Kansas City, although he didn't get the win because he ended up getting pulled in the 5th as Hochevar came in, recorded the final out of the 5th inning, and then pitched the 6th, and he gets the win as he allowed no earned runs in just 1 hit. And for Young, he pitched 4 2/3, allowing 2 earns off of 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. And with Dickey, just 1 2/3, 4 earned runs, 5 runs overall. Of course, 1 was not charged to him. And then the 2 bases on balls and just 1 strikeout, allowing the 2 home runs. Hendricks was actually pretty good in relief. The 4 and 1/3 innings, no earned runs off of 1 hit with 2 strikeouts. Then Hawkins comes in, loads up the bases, ends up with 3 earned runs, not recording any outs, 2 hits, 1 walk. And then Tepera, 1 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs, 5 hits, 2 walks. And then Lowe, 2 earned runs off of 1 hit. He did get 2 strikeouts. And then Pennington making history. Not the kind of history you necessarily want to make. I mean, not so much Pennington, of course, but the Blue Jays to end up having to use a position player in relief. That's how bad it got for the Jays. They end up using 6 pitchers in this game. But for the Royals, I said Young, the 4 2/3, just 2 earned runs off of 3 hits. And then Hochevar 1 1/3 innings, no earned, 1 hit. Madsen 1 inning, no earned, 1 hit allowed, 2 strikeouts. Herrera 1 inning pitched, no earned, 1 hit, 1 strikeout. And also the same for Morales, 1 inning, no hit, 1 hit, no earned, 1 strikeout. But for the Royals on offense, saw a lot of production from the top of this lineup, especially the top 3 there, Escobar, Zobrist, and Kane, as they combined for 6 hits and 9 RBIs. As Escobar was 2 for 3, 4 RBIs, 1 run scored. Zobrist 2 for 5, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Kane 2 for 3, 3 RBIs, 1 run scored. He also walked twice. Zobrist walked once. Then Hosmer 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored. Morales 1 for 5 with a run scored. Moustakas is 0 for 4, but he did have an RBI. And then Perez 1 for 3, 2 runs scored. He walked once as well. Gordon 1 for 3. He also walked, and he actually scored 3 times. And then Rios 3 for 3, 1 RBI, 1 run scored. Of course, that was that home run there in the second. He was bad and really good. 3 for 3, he was perfect. Orlando would end up pinch running for him, and then he was 2 for 2. So out of right field, Rios and Orlando combined 5 for 5 in the game. And then for the Jays, Revere 2 for 3, Donaldson 1 for 3 with an RBI, Batista 1 for 4 with an RBI, Tulo 1 for 3, and Goins 1 for 3. but they really weren't getting it going in this game. Donaldson was the only one who had an extra base hit, just that double, and that was it. As they weren't able to go yard, and if the Blue Jays don't go yard, they don't really put up many points on the board. And if they can't get going, then they don't really do much. And that's the thing is, the Blue Jays, they need to get it going. They need to put up lots of points. But that's what the Royals did in this game. And the thing is, they can produce those runs any which way. They don't even need to go deep, although they did have those 2 home runs early in the game. But you saw in the late innings there, even when they didn't really necessarily need it, but they just kept pouring on the runs. They just kept loading the bases, forcing mistakes by the Jays. And they just kept hitting those singles and then, sac flies and just producing runs, playing small ball. That's the thing. The Royals can do it any which way. They're very talented up and down their lineup. And their bullpen is pitching really excellent in this postseason. They're getting good production, too, out of their starters. Although Young didn't go deep, he didn't even get through 5, but he pitched pretty well here in Game 4. They said the Royals, their lineup though, top to bottom, there's not really an easy out in that 1 through 9. All those guys can get the bat on the ball, and that's what they do. They hit for contact and they hit in bunches, but they can also go deep too. So it's a very dangerous lineup. That's why they're up 3-1 in this series. First team to win a road game. Game 5, still in Toronto, but the series is without a doubt going back to Kansas. Well, not without a doubt, because the Royals could take it in Game 5, but either way, they won't be eliminated without going back to Kansas City. That's for sure, as the Blue Jays are in a position where they're going to have to win 3 straight to take the series. But the Royals, will be, having a chance to win. The Blue Jays are facing elimination at home. They're going to try to avoid that in Game 5. But we'll see how that, goes down. It'll be interesting to watch and see if they can get their bats to come alive, or if the Royals win this 1 in 5. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a good weekend and enjoyed all the sports.